was heading to New York for a Rhodes Scholar program, 5 boroughs in 5 days. But first, I made a stop in Florida to do some kayaking with relatives. Our first excursion is to Jackson Heights in the borough of Queens. We head for the subway station. Do you notice all those yellow hats? They're how our leader keeps track of us. Our tour is a food tour. We're exploring some of the different ethnic foods in the Jackson Heights area. On our first stop, we are treated to some Bangladeshi food. Next on the menu are Tibetan momos from a food truck. It was raining, and we all did our best to stay dry. Next on the menu, Tibetan food. This platter had a variety of Tibetan foods, all of it quite delicious. The Tibetan jol momo was served in a spiced, but not too spicy, broth. The restaurant had been given an award for their momos. After eating, we walked through the neighborhood on our way back to the subway. In the evening, we explored the Moynihan Train Hall and looked at some of the artwork. Here's the upside-down New York skyline. The train hall is in the old post office building. The public-facing parts of the post office still exist. There are windows where customers can buy stamps, mail packages, and post letters. The next day, we headed to Brooklyn, starting our tour at the Grand Army Plaza at the edge of Prospect Park. We walked through the Grand Army Plaza and past the Bailey Fountain. The fountain has mermen and bronze statue of a reclining Poseidon. Our view of the Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Arch is obstructed by these fences. Perhaps they have some construction work going on. The arch was built to commemorate those who fought in the Civil War. We continue along the edge of Prospect Park to walk by the Brooklyn Museum. The old historic building has a new facade. critics don't care much for it, and I'm afraid I don't care for it either. You like these yellow letters? Seen from one direction, they say yo. Seen from the other direction, they say oi. Both are expressions, I've told, that are common in Brooklyn. Unfortunately, we didn't have an opportunity to go inside the museum. Rhodes Scholar has another program that does visit the various museums in the New York area. I think I may need to go back and take that program. We then walked over to the Brooklyn Library. Beautiful building. We did go inside, but we didn't have much time. Mostly it was a bathroom break. Then we walked by some of the old brownstones that Brooklyn is known for. And we walked through an old bank building. Beautiful ceilings and chandeliers. And of course, modern cubicles for the people who work there. Because of the rain, our tour guide arranged for us to have a tour of the Brooklyn Academy of Music. We all found it very interesting. Before catching the subway to get back to our hotel, we strolled along the Brooklyn Heights Promenade. Later, after we had a chance to relax and have some dinner, we headed back to Brooklyn for a walk across the Brooklyn Bridge. We could get a nice view of the Manhattan Bridge from the Brooklyn Bridge. And as you see, many places where there is a fence, people had left locks. The third day of this tour, we went on a ferry ride out to Staten Island. We got a view of Manhattan from the boat and cruised by the Statue of Liberty. Once on Staten Island, we headed for the Borough Hall. Inside the Borough Hall, there are a series of murals depicting important events in the island's history. Then we walked by the St. George Theater and got a peek inside. Next on the agenda was pizza at Pier 76. Next was a visit to the Fresh Kills landfill. This display shows the many layers that were needed to place over the trash in order to make new parkland. And here's a view of some of the parkland that is being created. Upon returning to the island of Manhattan, we visited Hudson Yard. This edifice is called the Vessel. Is it sculpture? Is it architecture? Or maybe a little bit of each? Now it was time to go and visit the Edge. Up here, you could get amazing views of New York City. The iconic Empire State Building, where once people went to get these kinds of views. You could look down on part of the High Line and some rooftop gardens, and a glimpse of the hotel where we were staying.
Oh, you can see your room? We should have kept those binoculars.
You could even look down, straight down, through this plexiglass panel. We ended the day with a trip to Times Square. I was following the group in their yellow hats, but wasn't paying close enough attention and didn't see when they turned into the Hard Rock. I lost them, or they lost me. Anyway, I had to find my way back to the hotel on my own, but it was fine. The next day, we were headed for the Bronx, but first we made a stop in Harlem to visit the country home of Alexander Hamilton. We traveled along the Grand Concourse in the Bronx. It was a street that my late husband had often mentioned, as it was near where he had grown up.
And it brings back the neighborhood. And then as new people come in, they need more services, and so then you have businesses and
we were heading to an area that was called Little Italy.
The sort of the pejorative term has come to be.
It looked like something of a bygone era, not with big supermarkets, but with smaller shops, most of them dedicated to a certain kind of item. Canned goods here,
What's he looking for?
meat in another shop,
I saw there was a Polish grocery, and he was looking for some kind of sausage, and he didn't have it. See, Gainesville's so small.
and some wonderful baked goods in this bakery. I had to try some. After grabbing some lunch on our own in Little Italy, we headed to Wave Hill, some lovely public gardens and greenhouse, and we spent an hour or so wandering around. After dinner, I headed out on my own to explore the High Line. Once an elevated rail, it's now a public walkway and garden. In addition to parkland and gardens, the edge has many sculptures and other works of art. I would have liked to have had more time to see what else was on view, but I had to get going.
Directly into your house.
I think that,
One thing I did get to see was a view of the edge, where earlier I had stood and looked out over Manhattan. The program was over, and it was time to head to the Moynihan Train Hall to board the Amtrak Lakeshore Limited for the first leg of my trip home. I had booked a bedroom compartment, which comes with its own ensuite bathroom. It's small, but adequate. The train headed up along the Hudson River. I was disappointed that the weather was poor, rainy, foggy, so I didn't get the views I had hoped for on this lake. In the morning, we found ourselves along Lake Erie, hence the name Lakeshore Limited. We continued through Ohio and Indiana to Chicago, where I would switch trains and catch California Zephyr for the second leg of my trip home. After leaving Chicago, we traveled along until we crossed the mighty Mississippi River. We had a long stop in Denver. It gave me a chance to stretch my legs and wander around. The inside of the station was very nice, as was the area surrounding the station. Leaving the station, however, the views were not quite so good. After passing some suburban homes, we headed up into the foothills of the Rockies. We traveled through the Rockies and saw some beautiful landscapes. We even got mooned along the Colorado by some partygoers. The arid landscape of Utah and Nevada was equally lovely. Eventually, we came to the Sierras. We followed the Truckee River up into the mountains, where eventually we hit some light snow. Going down the other side of the Sierras into the foothills, I eventually reached the end of my journey, detrained, and summoned a lift.